Hi guys, welcome to part 3 of my Tarot and Oracle deck collection reveal. These are the next 20 decks that I will be going through. So as we do that, I will just move them to the side. So I'm really wanting to thank you all for taking the time to have a look at what I've already shared with you. It's been an interesting ride for me personally to be able to pull out every deck and to have a look at them again and to be able to share with you the journey that I've had with each deck and how I choose to use them. I'm hoping that you're finding it interesting. My name's Karen and I welcome you to Finding Sanctuary. If this is your first time here, I hope that you enjoy what you see. If you're a seasoned channel watcher, then I thank you for your continued support. It really does mean the world to me. So the first deck we will be looking at in part 3 is Trust Your Vibes Oracle Cards by Sonia Choquette. It's a 52 card deck with guidebook. Now, I've had this deck since the early 2000s and it is one that I love to use. As always, it has a great guidebook. Hay House always give you great guidebooks. It's something they've always done. And this is what the cards look like. Now, but even now, this is a deck and a style that I don't really have in my collection. But it's one that I've gravitated towards, and it certainly was very different at the time when I purchased it in the early 2000s to the other decks that I had in my collection. Now, I love Sonia Choquette and her decks that she has, and I have a few of them, and this is the backs of them. So I'm really looking forward to sharing them with you. What I love about these is I use them for daily card pulls. I love to use them as a secondary or third deck within a reading. I love the fact of the extra dimension that they give. And I love meditating with these cards. I just find them very interesting to look at and they certainly sing to my soul. So these are the Trust Your Vibes Oracle cards by Sonia Choquette. And it says it's a psychic toolkit for awakening your sixth sense. And I absolutely love this deck. Now the next one I have is one that I've recently acquired in my collection. It's the Tarot of Oneness by Robin Voisey. It's an 84 card tarot deck that enables you to connect with your divine guidance and embrace oneness. Now this is one that I supported on Kickstarter, and I was really excited to get. Inside the box looks like this. It's really beautiful, and these are the cards. They're extremely colourful, very emotive, huge symbology in here. It's very different to a normal tarot deck, but it still flows with what each card resonates with initially. So a really beautiful deck, one that I'm really pleased that I got. I am looking at potentially getting a second copy of this because since it's come into my collection, it's one that I gravitate towards pretty much all the time, to be honest. So I'm hoping to get another copy of it in my collection so that if and when this one wears out, I have another one that I can turn to. But absolutely beautiful. So easy to read, so easy to understand, and an absolute joy to have. So another one that I have in my collection, I'll just put this one away. Oh, before I do, here's the guidebook, the Tarot of Oneness. It's in full colour, which I really enjoy. It's easy to find the cards. It's got really good information. It has keywords and reversal keywords, which is always great. And it explains the cards to you, which I love. So here we have Messages from Your Angels, Oracle cards, What Your Angels Want You to Know by Doreen Virtue. Now I have a massive amount of angel cards in my collection and quite a few Doreen Virtue decks. I've had them since the early 2000s. They were probably initially the cards that I always used. This is the backs of them. And these are the fronts. Very much an early 2000s style of cards, especially from Hey Lifestyle. They all had a similar kind of look to them and feel. Doreen Virtue's decks are ones that I've always used. I always gravitate towards and I really enjoy. I think that the messages that they give are extremely helpful and extremely positive, which is what I like in a deck. So this is a beautiful deck that I have in my collection. And as always, the guidebook is got lots of information in here for you. The next one I have is the Moonology Oracle cards. Now, I've showed you in an earlier part to my collection, the Moonology Manifestation cards. These ones were the first ones that Yasmin Boland created, and I really love the look and feel of them. The one thing I'm not overly taken with is this band here with the writing in, but I'm not sure how else you could actually put the information on the cards. But in some of them I do feel that it definitely detracts from the cards themselves. I love using them. I love working with the moon. They are a deck that I bought to do that. I don't quite use them in that way. I did when I initially got them, but I don't anymore. So yeah, it's a deck that is highly rated and should be, but it is a deck within my collection that I don't use as much as I could. So, and I know a lot of you have this deck, and I'd love to hear what you think of it, how you work with it, and what you enjoy most about it, and any little things that niggle with you when you're using this deck. So obviously each card is in here. It has how to attune to the moon, additional meanings for the card, and the teaching for each card. Another deck that I have is the Ebola Abrams African Goddess Rising Oracle. Now this is a very pretty deck, lots of vivid colours within it. It's really just really delightful and gorgeous. I don't use it a lot, to be honest with you. I bought it to be able to have within my collection to use with my women's circles, so that I had that bit of diversity in there, because some of the decks I have, especially earlier decks, don't have diversity in them at all. And I really love this deck, and I love what it has to offer. And the pictures are just absolutely stunning. So definitely a beautiful deck to have. And the guidebook, it is a Hay House publication. Always great information, as I've said many times. It gives you the information about the cards, an embodiment, and the goddess declaration for each one. And a little bit of guidance. The next one I have is the Heart and Soul Angel cards. Now, I've had these for a really, really long time. And I absolutely love them. They're by Angela McGear. I hope I pronounced that right. And as you can see with the guidebook, it comes in this book layout like this, which is very different. I only have two decks that look like this, and they are both from Angela. And the book here has beautiful pictures of the cards, which are they're quite big. They're bigger than the cards actually. So sometimes when I pull a card, I like to look in here and see what it says. And it has the information here for the card as well. A really fantastic guidebook. So these are the cards. They're a little bit difficult to get out of here, but this is the size of them. They're really lovely to shuffle. Now, the one thing you'll notice with these cards straight away, these are the backs of them. Very pretty. Very, very pretty. But the one thing you'll notice with these cards straight away is they have absolutely no words on them at all. They are simply just the images. And I really like that. I like the fact that this deck has nothing else to guide you except for the image. So when I'm working with this deck, I will look at the image. I love using them for meditation, contemplation, journaling. Absolutely fantastic for that. And then I will read the description in the guidebook. It's one of the few that I do tend to lean towards the guidebook. Even though I've had it all these years and I do use it, I still love reading what the guidebook has to say and being reminded what the message for each card is. So that's the Heart and Soul Angel cards by Angela McGear. Next, I have the Kyle Gray, the Angel Guide Oracle, a 44-card deck and guidebook, another Hay House publication. It has this beautiful orange-yellow back on the cards. Now, I only have two of Kyle Gray's decks, and I find the energy of this one, for me personally, to be very masculine, which is very different to the angel decks that I have. Most of them are very angelic and feminine energy with them, but this one to me definitely has a masculine feel to it. So the artwork is by Jennifer Hawkyard, and I find it really lovely. When I first got it, I wasn't taken with it so much. I think it was because it was more of a masculine energy and not something I was used to working with the angels. But I've really learnt to sink into it and appreciate the energy that it gives and the different feel and way that it answers the questions. But it is definitely a lovely deck. And as always, a great guidebook. Hay House guidebooks, I'm pretty sure all of them are in black and white. So it has your message and an extended message for every card. Next, I have a new one that I've recently acquired. It is Leaves of Wisdom, Soulful Reflections by Walt Whitman. Now, this is similar to the Lucy Cavendish decks that I have, and it is a Blue Gaia publication. So when you open up this box, they're the information cards. The cards all look like this. I really love the green, dark green colour. I find it very beautiful. And on the other side, there are words of wisdom and messages. So being a new deck, I haven't used this a lot, but when I have used it, I've really liked the message that it's given me. It's something that I really love to sit and contemplate and meditate with. And I love to journal with too and see what comes out. I think it's a deck that I will use more than I thought I initially would. And I'm looking at ways that I can potentially pair it into my readings as a secondary deck, but certainly a beautiful one to have. Next, we have the second Carl Gray deck that I have in my collection. It's a 48-card deck and guidebook, Raise Your Vibration Oracle, and the artwork is by Ari Wisner. Again, Hay House deck. This is what the back of the cards look like. Very pretty. And this is what the front of the cards look like. Now, I'm starting to get a few of these kind of decks within my possession. I seem to be definitely gravitating towards this style more and more. It's very similar to the Super Attractor by Gabrielle Bernstein and her The Universe Has Your Back cards. And I really like it. I think it's interesting. It's uplifting. But what I really like about this one is I usually do readings with my cards on how to raise my vibration and how to uplift my energy each day. And if I'm walking into something that's tricky, how I can raise my energy for a project or a certain commitment. And that's a reading that I do. So I'm really looking forward to pairing those readings with cards from this deck to be able to just get that extra level and depth to the reading. But very pretty. And again, I make way for miracles. When you look it up in here, it has extended information for you and it gives you a vibe of the day for each card. Next, we have the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck by Dan May. Arwen Lynch Poe wrote the guidebook. And it's very in-depth. It's got really great information. It's a lovely read, and the messages that come with each card as she's written them are quite beautiful. The cards themselves, they have this fur-like pattern on the back. So that's the fur of the creatures themselves. And then these are the front of the cards. Now they're very much beautiful. They're very inward thinking for me, very, very solitary. They definitely have me looking within myself and how I'm feeling at the time. One thing I'm not a lover of with this deck is these landscape cards, but I love the picture, but I'm not sure that I like having cards that are landscape. There's only 5 or 6, maybe 7 of them in the deck. So to me, that's not enough to be able to balance the deck out. But anyway, they're in there. They come up from time to time. I read them like I would any other card, but given the preference, I would prefer not to have landscape cards within a deck or to have the deck completely landscape with no portrait orientation cards. But a beautiful deck. Really beautiful deck. Next we have one that I backed on Kickstarter, Songs of the Grandmothers, a 66 card oracle deck and guidebook by Cara Simons and illustrated by Mari in the Sky. Now I do believe that this is one that you can purchase now that the Kickstarter has finished. This is the guidebook. It's in complete color, which is fantastic. It's set out in different sections. So there's a pink section, like a blue section, a green section, a purple section, a yellow and a brown. And each of those correspond, should I say, to a particular thing. So this is the sheet that tells us what they correspond to. So they correspond to cards that are related to self-love, harmony, growth, possibility, service and destruction. And what I really love about this deck is that it has here grandmother for each card, and this one's the Emperor Penguin, and it's around movement, and it has a haiku poem. So follow the rhythm, solo or together, dance in sync with the beat. And I just love it. It's very different to all of the other decks that I have, and I'm a lover. Excuse me, I'm an absolute lover of poetry, so I love the fact that it has these haiku poems on the bottom. So as you can see, very vivid colors, lovely messages, a real joy to work with. I haven't worked with it as much as I would like. It is one that's on my list to definitely really work consistently with in early 2023, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But it truly is beautiful, and the messages in the guidebook are fantastic. So really, really pleased that I backed this on Kickstarter. Now, as you can see, when I get down here, there are some blank cards. That's not a misprint. The actual deck comes with 6 of these cards. And these cards are designed so that you can create your own grandmother cards. Now, I'm not someone that's likely to do that, to be really honest with you. I don't like defacing cards, even though that's the design of them and what the purpose of them is for. I'm probably more likely to, when I pull one of those cards, because I will leave them in the deck when I use it, I'm likely, if I pull one of those cards, to have a look at the other messages that I'm getting if I'm using it with another deck, and just see what needs to be strengthened, or just intuit whatever it is that's coming to me at the time, rather than writing on them and having them set in exactly what they're going to represent. So this is the back of the cards, very pretty, really lovely, and the quality of these cards is incredible. A really high quality deck, so a pleasure to have in my collection. Oh, and this is just a card that we got that has the grandmother's garden spread, and it explains it to you. And over here we have the grandmother house spread. So the next one I would like to share with you is a Mystical Journey Oracle, Embrace Your True Path. Love the colouring of this. This is by Tennessee Carpenter. And these are the back of the cards. They're reversible, which I love. You don't quite often... Hay House decks these days don't seem to have as many decks with reversible backs. But I do love them. It has the silver edging here. I'm not sure if you can see that that's silver. And then these are the cards themselves. So they're really beautiful, very in-depth, a lot of symbolism in them. The colouring, I don't know what it is about the colouring. It just really, really draws me in. It has this real earthy feel to it. It makes me feel very connected and grounded, very safe. I definitely feel a safe energy coming from these, which I just absolutely love. So, a beautiful deck to work with. And I believe it's the only deck that I have in my collection from Tennessee Carpenter. So this is a Rockpool publication, and the guidebook is in colour, which Rockpool publications tend to have colour guidebooks for the most part. And here you have a divination and an action for every card that you pull out. Next we have the Faunabelle Tarot. Now I do believe that this was a Kickstarter. I actually bought it from the creator herself because she had them for sale well after the Kickstarter, I believe. I could be wrong, it may not have been a Kickstarter, but I'm pretty sure that it was. So The words are by Yanita Bendicto, I think it's pronounced, and the art is by Nicola Allen. And you can still buy this deck from their website if you are interested. What I love about it is a little deck with a big heart, designed to generate kindness and self-compassion for children and the young at heart. And it's designed for ages 3+. So, and I love the box. It's beautiful. Now, these cards are very attractive. They've got this beautiful purple backing with the gold foil on them. They are, it is a tarot, but the cards are wider than most tarot cards, as you can see. They're not too tall, which is fantastic, but for little hands, I'm a little bit worried that they may be too big. We have it's not quite a gold edging here, but it's probably a dark gold edging on the cards. So my concern is whether these cards are too big for little hands, but when I turn them over in a minute and you see the artwork, you'll understand why the cards are this size and you wouldn't want them any other way. So these are the images on the cards. So as you can see, they don't have any writing on them unless they are the major arcana. So the major arcana cards have the title underneath, but the rest of them don't have it at all. And they're just gorgeous. They're so engaging, very childlike, but very beautiful. Even though I'm not 3 years of age, I love using them. So this one is the Tower, the Devil, and then you can see. So from memory, the suits are the dogs. There's a suit of dogs. There's a suit of, this is a Death card, and the Emperor, the World, Temperance. The suit of Cups is the 2 fish. Then we have the Chariot and the Hermit and the Star and the Moon. The Cockatiel is another set that we have, and that's the Lovers. I'm just trying to think what was the other one. So we have the dogs, the Cockatiel, the fish, and the turtle. Yep, we have the turtles, which were at the beginning when I showed it to you. These ones here. So when you open the book and you have a look, it says in here, in the beginning, I'll just find it so I can read it to you. When it talks about the minor cards, where are we? So the animals. Once upon a time there was a dog, a tortoise, a cockatiel and 2 goldfish. Each animal came to the earth to teach humans something very special. The dog wanted to show humans how to play so that they might live with more joy. The tortoise was sent to remind humans that how they spend their time is very important so that they might live with more meaning. The cockatiel's gift was to help humans understand that their thoughts create their world so they might live with more peace. And the goldfish wanted to teach humans to listen to their emotions. This would help them love one another better. So that's what the different ones are. So the dogs are the suit of wands traditionally. The goldfish are the suit of cups traditionally. The cockatiel is the suit of swords traditionally. And the tortoise is the suit of pentacles traditionally. Now what I love about this guidebook is it's very simple. So obviously at 3 years of age, they're unlikely to be able to read the words, but with a little bit of parental help, they can definitely understand them. There's so much symbology in the cards that I imagine they'd be able to get a lot out of them on their own. Excuse me. But every card has an upright and an upside down meaning to them, which I love. I love reversals in cards, and I love the fact that this one gives children the ability to learn that too. So there's obviously more meaning for the major arcana cards, but there's definitely a lot of information here for the minor arcana cards, and it's just a simply beautiful deck. I do have a number of decks for children, but to be honest with you, if I was looking at buying a deck, this would be the one that I would gravitate towards. I think any age could definitely love it and work with it very easily, and I do actually have 2 copies of this deck in my collection. So next is the Rider Tarot deck, the original and only authorized Rider-Waite Tarot. Pretty standard tuck box. The little leaflet that comes with it. It is a US game system deck. it has the cards here themselves, which I'm sure that, you know, most of us are pretty familiar with. I don't need to explain too much with this. And obviously the backs look like this, which is pretty standard. So I think whether you have one in your collection or not, most people at some point will have the Rider-Waite Tarot deck in their collection. If it's not something that you start out with, it generally tends to be something that you do purchase along the way and have for the most part. So next deck I have is The Universe Has Your Back, Gabrielle Bernstein, art by Michaela Ezra. And it's a 52 card deck, Hey Lifestyles deck. Now, this is the back of the cards, which I'm pretty sure is the same as the Super Attractor card. Maybe the moon's a different colour, but I'm pretty sure they're very, very similar. And these are the front of the cards. Lovely messages, simple artwork. Again, this is a deck that I tend to use as a secondary deck. I pull a card from it to go with a reading that I already have, or I'll pull it for a daily card pull. But traditionally, I use it with other decks to be able to enhance a reading. Now, the next one is the Change Me Prayers Oracle cards. Now, this is the original version of Tosha Silver's card deck. It has been redone in recent history into the Divine Beloved Oracle cards, and they are in either part 1 or part 2 of my collection that I've talked about. So we won't talk about them too much now, but these are the original cards. So they come like this. They have a completely different energy to the Divine Beloved cards, even though they have, for the most part, the same messages and same reading. There are a couple of cards that are worded slightly different, and there are a couple of cards that are in this one that didn't make it into the Divine Beloved. So I treat them as two very different decks, and I use them at very different times, and the energy with them is completely different. Here is a Colette Baron Reid, the Enchanted Map Oracle cards, a 54 card deck and guidebook. Look, I don't think I really need to explain this to you very much. It is one that I love and I do use. And it's a great deck, as all Colette Baron Reid decks are. I love the artwork within it. I find it quite engaging. Her guidebooks with her cards are extremely phenomenal. There's always a lot of information in them. She does upright and reversed, or protection she often calls it. Messages for each of the cards, which is fantastic. And yeah, a really great deck. I think it's one of those that a lot of people have in their collection or are well aware of. It's, yeah, a fabulous deck. The next one I have is Paradise Found Oracle, Secret Teachings of the Ages. So this is a rock pool deck. It's by Dana Michusi and illustrated by Michelle, I believe they're pronounced. I hope I've said that right. This is the back of the deck. It's that purpley blue colour I absolutely adore and gravitate towards. And this is the front of the deck. Now, this is really different to anything else I've got. It feels like I'm in a different space, different place. It feels otherworldly to me personally, but I really love it. It is a deck, though, that I do rely on the guidebook heavily, because I don't trust myself to be able to understand the message of each card at this point in time. I have used it quite a lot, but I do gravitate towards the guidebook and the messages that it gives. It's one of the very few decks that I will always go back to the guidebook to be able to get the message. It is lovely. I don't tend to use it with any other decks when I'm doing a reading. I'm trying to work out how I might be able to do that. The guidebook is in full colour, which is really great. It gives you the message and it gives you a decree, which is, yeah, really interesting. But it's an interesting deck and I do enjoy it. It's very different to anything else that I have, but it's definitely one that I enjoy having in my collection and I enjoy using. So this is the Whispers of Healing Oracle cards by Angela Hartfield and artwork by Josephine Wall. It is a deck that I really enjoy. I love Josephine Wall's artwork. As you can see on the back, this is the back of the cards. They're quite pretty. I like them. When I turn them over, you'll see in a minute something that is unique to this deck, I think. So this deck has cards that are in portrait orientation, and there are 12 of them? No, 18 of them, sorry, within this deck. And they're very beautiful. But they also have in the deck 32 cards that are in landscape orientation. Now, I know you've heard me say many times that I don't like decks that have landscape cards, but for some reason, because the landscape cards in this deck are quite prominent and there's so many of them, I really enjoy using them with the portrait cards, because there seems to be a better balance. The other ones that I've had, you know, they've got 40, 44 cards, and they tend to have, you know, 4 or 6 landscape cards, and it just feels like they've stuck them in there for no reason. But this one's, even though there are more landscape cards, this one kind of feels more balanced, and I do enjoy the fact that they have the landscape cards in them, which sounds weird telling you, because I keep saying I don't like landscape cards, but I think it really works for this deck. So here we have the guidebook. It's got lots of information in here for you about each card, which I really love. Now, the last deck I have in this part 3 of this series is the Rebecca Campbell the Starseed Oracle cards, a 53 card deck and guidebook with artwork by Danielle Knoll. Now, this is a deck I was really excited to get. I love the colouring of it, and I seen it and I couldn't wait to get my hands on it, to be really honest with you. I love the fact that the box is something different and it's not your standard kind of box, which Rebecca Campbell seems to put a lot of her decks out in this box now. So it's not necessary. It's a novelty for her, like for her decks, but it's not necessarily that, you know, there is a deck with that and the deck itself is a novelty anymore. So these are the backs of the cards, as you can see. And these are the fronts of the cards. Now, as I said, I was really excited to get this deck, but once I got it, it just didn't resonate with me in the way that I had anticipated and I had hoped. And it's a deck that I've quite quickly pushed to the side and don't kind of come back to at all. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's the Starseed aspect of it or whether it's the colouring or whatever, but I don't enjoy using it like I really thought I would, which is an absolute shame because it's a beautiful deck. But yeah, anyway, that's it. So there you have it, guys. That's the next 20 decks in my collection. I will share with you the continuation of my collection in parts 4 and beyond. And I hope that you found things that you're interested in, new decks that you might not have seen, and being able to recognize decks that you have. And again, please let me know down below if you have a deck, if you'd like to get a deck, what you liked about a deck that you've seen, or if there's something that, you know, resonates with you. Or if you have an experience with a deck that wasn't what you anticipated, I'd really love to hear about it and for you to share those things, because even though I'm here creating these videos for you, I really want it to become a community where we share and evolve and learn from each other. So please reach out, let me know what you like, what you didn't like, what you have at home, and what you think you might have seen that you might like to have in your collection. So thanks, guys, for watching again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.